Hello, everyone. Welcome back to diving into Doctor Who for Series 3. Jeannine, we're trucking straight on after the emotional finale of Series 2.
Yeah.
Have you had enough time to process exactly what was going on? Or did these episodes give you that more time, given that the Doctor's pretty grief-stricken,
Yeah.
particularly in the first one we're talking today, which is the Christmas special, the 2006 Christmas special, the Runaway Bride. What are we feeling first and foremost, I think, coming off that emotion, and are we in line with the Doctor and his grief?
Yes, I think I needed him to really be impacted by what happened and feel it and discuss it, or even maybe struggle to talk about it because it is so hurtful. So had we not gotten kind of a decent amount of that, I might be more upset or more still struggling to deal with what
Yes,
happened. But seeing that the Doctor is also kind of struggling was helpful as a viewer who
I think that's
did
good.
who was very emotional about that ending.
Yeah, I mean, that's very important because as TV schedules were, it had been months since that finale by the time our
Yeah.
first episode today came around on Christmas Day in 2006. And then, obviously, as we start Series 3 properly as well in talking the Series 3 opener, Smith and Jones today, that comes back around in the spring of
Yeah.
2007. So you do get that length of time, I think, as a viewing population to
Yeah.
process the grief, to process the loss of Rose, even though, okay, she definitely technically didn't
Didn't
die. This is
die,
very
but
important.
yeah.
This is what the Doctor holds on to. She's not
Yeah.
dead. She's just in the parallel universe,
Yeah.
inaccessible, and all that.
Yeah.
That is a very important distinction to make, and an important distinction for the Doctor to make. But
Yes.
in us watching, obviously, these two episodes now fairly quickly after watching that finale, do we feel like it still has that impact? Or I think particularly after maybe watching, and we'll obviously get into this slightly later on in the show, after watching the Series 3 opener, were you just able to kind of lock back in for the start of something fresh and not put it aside necessarily, because the loss of Rose is still going to play a big impact in the
Yeah.
Doctor's
Yeah.
mentality all throughout this next series? It is,
Yeah.
for better or worse as well. Sometimes, admittedly, at the kind of we pity Martha because she's almost getting compared to Rose by the Doctor quite a lot over the course of Series 3, and you'll see this happen. I think this is why people do tend to quite like Martha and consider her quite an underrated companion,
Okay.
because it's almost like the Doctor himself only grows to value her, rather than because of obviously the loss of Rose
Yeah.
so heavily impacts him. It
Yeah.
is,
It's hard for
you know,
him, it
we
blinds him in a way
yeah,
because
we
she's
put
showing.
our
Yeah.
fondness that we feel the
Yeah.
Doctor should have for Martha, we have that for Martha as the viewer, I think.
Yeah, because she shows just as much immediate kind of, capability and understanding, or at least acceptance of the weird things happening, just as Rose did. But it's interesting to hear that, like, he'll struggle for a while to really kind of value her in the same way, which, feels nice for somebody who, loved Rose. Um to see that he struggles with that, but it also kind of is like, um, I'm kind of excited to see this character endure through that, you know?
Yeah.
Um, so
I
yeah.
think Martha's a very upstanding sort of character. She's a
Yeah.
character that is very, very
Resilient.
easy to very resilient, but a character that
Yeah.
it's very, very easy to feel a lot of fondness for and to be
Mhm.
quite impressed by, to be quite sort of yeah, you would follow Martha into battle by the end of
Yeah.
Martha's run. Let's just say that.
Okay.
So I always really liked Martha. I think she was a great choice to bring on as a companion. Obviously, Freema Agyeman was in Army of Ghosts at the back end
Yeah.
of series
Because I
2.
recognized her. I was like, "Isn't she doesn't she become a companion?" Because I remember telling you that, like, on my whole gung ho mission when I started watching Doctor Who, I'm gonna watch all of Doctor Who. Like, yeah, I'm gonna
Yes.
do it all. I watched a lot of kind of videos about different companions and the comparisons and that whole kind of thing. So I was kind of pretty well versed on all of the companions when I started watching Doctor Who like a decade ago. But then, yeah, of course, as the point of this series, I quit, right after we lost Eccleston. So from my recollections of that time, as soon as I saw her, I'm like, doesn't she become a companion? Like, what?
But it is very clearly a different character, distinctly
Yeah,
different character.
they
Just
they
like
throw a line of dialogue in there to like,
yes.
retcon that situation. So,
They just liked her as an actor a lot, and
mhm.
this happens again. I'm sure you're well aware that Karen Gillan is a companion of Matt Smith's
Yes,
Doctor, for example,
yes.
but she will appear in a very random role as an alien, during Tennant's run.
Okay.
And it's just like you will find these
Repeat.
strange little repeat, cast members. Even we're not quite getting onto it for another series yet, but Peter Capaldi, who I'm sure you're aware became the
Mm,
Doctor,
yeah.
is also in series 4 as just as a good side character in an episode.
Oh, okay.
So
And they just
it's
liked him
it's
and said, "Yeah, it's just."
strange how that can happen
Mhm.
sometimes. We do obviously have plenty more installments of You'll Always Recognise Someone in Doctor Who, particularly in, I think the series 3 opener, Smith and
Yeah.
Jones.
Mhm.
But before we get into that, we've got a Christmas special to talk about, Jeannine. This
Yes,
is
yes.
this is an important Christmas special, a big deal of a Christmas special, the series 3 Christmas special, The Runaway Bride,
Mhm.
episode 0, as you may refer to it as, for series 3. But it is a great transition piece between the 2 series and throws you straight in with another companion as well. We don't quite get Martha yet, obviously. We have the
Yeah.
runaway bride herself. She showed up at the end of Doomsday on the TARDIS for some such reason. Will we find out what that reason was? Yes,
Yeah.
obviously.
Yeah.
Um, Donna Noble, as played by Catherine Tate. Let's get basic statements out of the way.
Yeah.
What do we feel about Donna, first and foremost, as this introduction, and this Christmas special as a special?
Um, I mean, she starts out to be obviously very obnoxious.
Yes.
But over the course of the episode, I like that she, um notices something in the doctor and kind of gives him a bit of a warning for himself. Um, and it comes to a interesting realization that, like, you would think the show has kind of been set up to, like, have everyone kind of once they know what's happening with the doctor, they wanna kind of be a part of it.
Yeah.
So, it's interesting to have a character who's like, "This was nuts, no thanks, like, this was all super cray, I don't want nothing to do with this." So by the end of the episode, you're really kind of respecting her resilience in, like, dealing with this insane situation, being used in the way she was, the whirlwind of a day, finding out kind of her family's pretty trash, and, um,
Donna's family is terrible, and I mean,
e
this I don't think it's too massive of a spoiler to say Donna is not a one and done companion. as far
Yeah,
as a Christmas special is concerned. So we see there's plenty more of Donna to come,
yeah,
and her relationship with the Doctor is so unique as a companion Doctor relationship, and I
yeah.
think it's arguably the most beloved of the last 20 years in terms of a
Time.
companion Doctor
Mhm.
relationship. So, you can have debates on that with whoever you wish to have debates on that with. But no doubt we'll be having those debates when we
Yeah,
come to that particular series. But it's very unique as a companion doctor relationship. I've always really liked Donna, but her family, apart from her granddad, who we've not yet met, are awful people. They're
yeah,
just horrible, horrible people to her. And
yeah.
the doctor eventually really calls them out on it, and it's, very
Yeah.
satisfyingly, almost
Oh, yeah.
hilariously necessary.
Mhm.
Um, for him to do that. They are her mother in particular is terrible, and
Pretty
when you
trash, yeah.
compare, what we saw from Sylvia Noble, Donna's mother, even in this Christmas special,
Yeah,
when you compare to what we've just had for 2 seasons with Jackie and Rose, it's quite a distinctly different mother-daughter relationship. Like, they really don't particularly care for each other, this mother
yeah,
and daughter. There's so much
yeah.
tension there. And Jackie and Rose they were all over each other. They couldn't get enough of each other. They loved each other so much. They would
Yeah,
do anything
yeah,
for
they
each
were like a team, yeah. Um, but yeah,
um,
I mean, just to have a character who was, not enamored by the kind of lure of what the Doctor can provide in terms of like,
yeah,
giving you this life of adventure was interesting, and then even just a bit of a warning that she gives him at the end as well, I found really interesting.
yeah. Well,
It
the
spoke
10th
to kind
Doctor
of
needs that.
yeah, it spoke to kind of what you had been, like, warning me, but kind of telling me what Tennant's Doctor kind of gets into, um, in terms of his differences from Eccleston. Um, and also just kind of playing into I want there to for a decent amount of time, I want there to be something that speaks to his missing of Rose, and I felt like him needing kind of somebody to rein him in a little bit,
Yeah.
spoke to that. So, yeah, I thought she was interesting in the sense that she kind of was very obnoxious and then kind of went into becoming a really interesting character by the end of the episode.
Yeah. Well, I'll give a little bit of a synopsis of this episode before we talk about the plot details. It's not a very good synopsis for some reason. I'm using the same thing I've used
Yeah.
all this time on diving into Doctor Who, but we just have killer Santas, exploding baubles, and alien spaceships shaped like a giant star. Christmas with the 10th Doctor is anything but a silent night. It feels
That
almost
doesn't
like
say anything,
it
like,
doesn't say anything. It feels almost like
of
the
substance.
DVD back sort of teaser.
Yes! Yes, was no plot breakdown anywhere in that
No,
synopsis.
there's no mention of Donna in that
Of
at all.
even the
So
bride, yes, the runaway bride, there's not a mention of her at all.
it's very strange. It's very strange. It should be said. It should be noted. We learn this fairly early on. We see it fairly early on. Donna's obviously not a runaway bride as much as she is
No.
a disappearing bride.
Yes, yes. We meet her walking down the aisle, so yeah, we kind of go back to after the or before that moment when she just appears in the TARDIS. This big wedding, her walking down the aisle, she seems very happy, and then she
Yeah.
just starts disappearing halfway down the aisle, and that's how she ends
Yes.
up in the TARDIS. So then it becomes a
Chaos at
whole
chaos at the wedding starts to happen.
yes, her whole
Lots
family
of
starts
things.
wondering what happened to her, freaking out, blaming her for disappearing. She seems to have a
Yeah, I
jealous
mean,
rival there as well, who's kind of all over her soon to be husband. Like, yeah, they decide to just have the reception without her, despite her just disappearing. They kind of say she's doing it for attention. And all
I
of this
I
happening
really
while
hate
she's
her.
just like, "I need to get back there. It's very important that I get back there to get married and be with my family." And so she's making this huge deal to get back. Meanwhile, they are just literally, like, talking shit about her and don't really care that she's gone.
Yeah.
So,
But, the fact that her mother immediately thinks she's just playing a trick for attention,
yeah.
and and Donna's first instinct as to when she gets there, she believes it's you alluded to her kind of weird romantic rival, Neris, that she
Yeah.
does have, who comes up in Donna's story every now and again as this sort of foil for Donna, and not in any serious sense, but in just a
No, but
kind of
a passing mention of
Neris,
a
shake
character.
your fist, Neris kind of way.
Yeah.
Um, she thinks it's her, and she's played a trick on Donna and transported Donna off somewhere. And
Yeah.
I love how everybody's first thought is, "What has she done now?" Not what's happened to her,
Happened to
not
her, yeah.
where is she? Well, yes, where is she? But basically, it all stems down to why has
Why
she
did she
done
do
this?
yeah, why did she do this? Yeah. Like, what?
And
Why
she's
are you trying to
obviously
rush back to these people? Yeah.
obviously not done any of that. And I suppose the one person who maybe doesn't think that way is her husband to be, Lance.
Yeah.
But maybe that's just all a bit of a ruse and a bit of a ploy and a bit of a game that Lance is
Yeah.
playing as we maybe come to know.
Yeah.
Because the whole episode, okay, it's a bit of an extended episode. It does feel like a special. I
Mhm.
think what is notable about not only this special, but I think going into series 3 as well, is there's been a little improvement in the effects, dare I say? A
Yeah,
little bit?
I'd say so, a little bit better. The music was very different, I think, in this episode um, than the other episodes, kind of this, like, flitty, light, kind of silly antics kind of music.
Yes.
I noticed,
This
yeah.
is this is what it is. This is the Doctor and Donna's chaotic, adventurous relationship.
Yeah,
It is not as self-serious as, or the relationship itself isn't as self-serious as him and Rose, for example, or to a point even him and Martha. But it's,
haven't
as I
quite
said,
gotten into that
it's an
yet.
interesting one. No, we've
Yeah,
obviously
but
not got into that yet, and I don't want
yeah.
to just give too much. Trying to be a bit
Yeah,
careful with
no,
myself.
no, that's perfectly fine, but, yeah, I mean, the first part of the episode is her basically just trying to get away from the doctor and get back to her wedding, um,
Yes.
and ultimately getting captured by these creepy Santa robots, and the
Who are
doctor having
back
to
from
save her.
last
Yeah,
Christmas, if you remember
yeah,
rightly, because they always seem
yeah,
to turn up at Christmas, these scavenger beings dressed as robot Santas, and, to feed off of chaos alien energy. Basically, this is what these people do. They were there last
yeah,
Christmas when the Doctor was regenerating. They sensed that and wanted some of that energy. They now sense that something a bit strange is going on, with Donna obviously vanishing up into the TARDIS, seemingly impossibly. So these robot Santas are latching on to Donna here and taking her on a big old chase
a
down the motorway
situation.
in a taxi
Yeah,
as the TARDIS is flying
like
behind it, trying to dodge through
to
cars, and the Doctor's
yes,
trying
to
to
get
save
her,
Donna
and
from
she
the
doesn't
taxi.
wanna
And it,
listen to him. Yeah,
you know what?
she's
It's a
still
good
like
chase.
yeah, and, like, these kids watching from behind, like, cheering on the doctor to, like, get her, and yeah. Yeah, it's a pretty solid chase.
It's very, very thrilling. I don't think as a Christmas special, it's necessarily the most Christmassy feeling
No,
Christmas special.
like, the Christmas elements felt a little forced, like, "Okay, we gotta make something in here Christmas, so let's have these Christmas robots again. Let's have these bauble bombs. Let's make the ship look like a Christmas star ornament." And then have, like, a little, Donna invites the doctor to Christmas dinner at the end.
Yes.
Little bit
Yes,
of
which
snow
oh,
that's clearly from a snow machine, like, 'cause
yes.
it's
I mean,
literally, like, blasting from a sideways angle instead of falling from the sky.
well, listen, the doctor made it snow. This was the doctor's little trick at the end of the
Yeah.
episode. He wanted to make it snow, but I know we're kind of jumping around a little bit in the Runaway Bride, but
Yeah.
the ending is so impactful. You've obviously alluded to it already of
Mhm.
after what goes on during the episode, Donna really giving the doctor a bit of perspective in terms of like, you need to find someone. It's not going to be me at the
No,
moment,
but you
but
need
you need to
someone.
find someone to tell you when to stop.
Yeah, because 'cause
Because
you're
what I've
being
just
very
witnessed,
destructive. Yeah, you are
yeah,
very
what I've
destructive
just
right
witnessed
now.
is it not only self-destructive, but dangerous, actively
Yeah,
dangerous. Like,
yeah,
what are you becoming? I as Donna don't know you, and I'm questioning what are you becoming, given what you've told me, given who
exactly.
you've told me you are.
Yeah,
We,
yeah,
the
and, like,
viewer, obviously know who the
yeah,
doctor is. We see him in this episode clearly become as, you know, I would say cruel as we've seen him throughout this whole run. We've not
mhm,
seen him be as cruel as he is in this episode for these past two series. I don't know how cruel the Doctor was in classic Who, here and there,
yeah,
every now and again. Maybe so. This is my ignorance, but this, modern Doctor Who run, this is the first indication of this Doctor having a a bit of a self-importance. I must win. I am
yeah.
the destroyer. I am the destructor.
Yeah, I mean, he was
He
willing to
comes to
sacrifice
refer to
himself.
himself. He was, but he comes to refer to himself, this is slightly later on, as the Time Lord Victorious, which is this rather godlike thought
Yeah.
process of himself. And we see an indication as to what he does with the ultimate villain of this episode. Um, and what did you make of the villain of the episode, obviously? Because I know we don't necessarily need to get into all the little
Yeah.
detaily details of the plot. Essentially, this alien being, the empress of the Rachnos, a very ancient spider-like
Spider
alien
kind of,
being.
yeah, that they need, like, people to
Um,
feed off of, was in hibernation and,
Yes, for
um
billions and billions of years, and essentially
yes.
became the center of the Earth when the Earth
Yeah,
was formed billions and billions of years ago,
yeah.
what have you. And yes, as you say, it's been hibernating and has woken, and this ancient energy is causing chaos. This is what ended up having, the having Donna able to be transported onto the TARDIS.
Yeah.
But the Empress of the Rachnos has a little sidekick in the form of Donna's supposed husband.
Yeah, she was working a temp job at this company, and he brought her some coffee, and then it was turned into him bringing her coffee, like, every day, and she thought it was just, like, this cute gesture, so they start dating, and then, she is asking him to marry her, and he keeps saying no, and so she keeps persisting.
Desperately.
Of course,
This is
funnily
this
enough,
is humorous.
when she's relaying this story to the doctor, she's saying he was begging to marry her. But then we actually
Yeah.
see, like, in the flashbacks that it's her constantly bugging him to get married.
There
And
is
so
these
ultimately.
wonderful scenes in wonderful sit down and get to know ourselves scenes in this
Yeah.
episode, I think, as well. And, maybe that this is such a strong first episode for the Doctor and Donna's relationship, given that
Mhm.
it takes all that time to have that. It still does have the spectacle that you would expect
Yeah.
from a
But then when
special
we
of
get
this
this
era.
Yeah, but then we get this quiet moment of them sitting on a rooftop, kind of trying to understand each other,
Yeah,
was nice. Yeah, it was a nice break
yeah,
from the action. Um,
absolutely, absolutely. But yes, Lance ends up essentially poisoning this coffee
yeah,
with
the
ancient
particles.
particle energy.
Yeah, and so he was feeding her the particles, and that's why she was, containing so much for the TARDIS to pick her up. Um, and he was feeding her these particles in order to kind of, awaken this creature's children so that they could all feed and
Yes,
rise again kind of thing.
yes,
So he was like, "Yes, I will be kind of this queen's servant and help her get humans, and first step is to, poison Donna with all these particles."
yes.
And he
And you
thinks
feel
he's
so
going to be
bad for Donna.
rewarded.
Oh, you feel so bad for Donna. Donna's
Yeah.
crushed by this because,
Yeah, that he was
okay,
just using her.
in that relaying scene where Donna's obviously telling the Doctor exactly
Mhm.
how she's gotten to be this in a wedding dress, but not at a wedding and all this kind of stuff. Um, and we see obviously that she's not the most reliable narrator, but
No.
we still feel so bad for her when she is obviously confronted with Lance again. After she gets herself back, she goes obviously to back to the wedding, finds out they've had the reception without her, sees
Without her.
Lance dancing with Neris,
Yeah.
and everybody's moaning at her, and then
Yeah, "Where
obviously
have you been?" And then
Santa's
it gets
ah,
attacked. Yeah, the Santas come, they, use a remote control to turn all the baubles on the Christmas tree into bombs and start blowing things up,
yes,
and then they have to get away, while the doctor's kind of, hanging at the reception while Donna's dealing with her family. He looks up the company that she said she temped for, and he
yes,
sees that the company has a connection to Torchwood. So he knows there's something kind of weird going on. So that's when he ultimately finds out. Once they do go, he Lance and Donna and the doctor go to the company so they can kind of figure out what's going on. And that's how they learn about this spider queen and
yes.
um, her wanting these people with particles to eat and feed her children, and
Yeah.
Lance helping her with that. But
I
he
think
does
she's a
not
really
get
good villain. I
yeah,
think she's a
and
really good monster.
I think she looks pretty good too. Um, it could have been a weird CGI kind of mess of a thing, but no, it looked pretty good, I think, makeup-wise.
I mean, don't get too used to the fact that we'll be, veering away from poor, iffy looking
Yeah, no,
CGI. There's still
I would
plenty of
never expect that.
dodgy looking CGI in series 3, but
Yeah.
this isn't CG. This is a full
Mhm.
practical bodysuit
Yeah.
makeup. It's
Mhm.
really, really impressive. I mean, it
Yeah.
must have taken an ungodly amount of time to get this actress into the
Yeah.
makeup for the Empress of the Rachnos, but it really does have a wonderful effect. I think she's visually a great
Mhm.
monster, very, very memorable. But
Yeah.
the idea of her, the concept of her is fascinating as well. This ancient, more ancient than ancient being
Yeah.
who has formed the center of the earth, who essentially, like any good villain, monster, whatever you want to call it, has the ideology that you can understand as the viewer of, well, I'm just here. I'm awake now. I just want my children to be born
Yeah,
and
to
be
be
able to
fed
feed,
and
and this is how we
yeah.
live. And what do
Mhm.
you want me to do? I can't help being hissing and shrieking all the time. That's just
Yeah,
my
it's my
personality.
nature,
It's not
yeah.
my
Mhm.
nature. It's not my fault that you're finding it scary and threatening.
Yeah.
And then you don't even mind how she treats Lance because Lance is a bit of a wet lettuce.
Oh,
And
yeah. That's how he tricked her and just his shadiness and sneakiness and his, so quick to betray her and use her in that way. So when he, thinks he's done good for the queen and then she just eats him and like throws him in the pit, like you're
it's like,
pretty
thanks.
satisfied. Yes. And I think the doctor does try to find a peaceful solution, but she's like, no. Um, so ultimately, it comes down to him sacrificing himself to just kill the queen. But Donna has to talk him out of it. So the fact that he's very much in this kind of self-destructive state where, I
Yeah,
tried one thing for a peaceful resolution. Oh, well, I guess it's not going to work out. So, just blow the whole thing up. And Donna
yeah,
kind of has to convince him to escape, and not do that. So it really speaks to the mindset that he's in right now, which
yeah.
I needed to see. I needed to have the doctor kind of feeling how I feel right now to validate it. So,
I mean,
yeah,
it's
and it's
both
interesting to see the extremes that he is kind of living in right now. It's kind of unpredictable and scary and
very,
heartbreaking, and yeah, yeah. So I
it's
liked
both
Donna really
darkly,
holding up a mirror to that, being kind of a character who
yes,
doesn't know him, and for someone who doesn't know you to see something kind of not right in you, shows how strong that he is kind of letting that show.
yeah.
So,
This is
yeah,
this is what's special about Donna, you see, she
yeah,
notices these things that others don't about
yeah,
the Doctor, even
yeah.
though she is this kind of farcical, bizarre, comedic, sort of
Silly, kind of
idiotic
flighty
character.
seeming woman. Yeah, yeah.
She notices things others don't, and she has a
Mhm,
different kind of heart. She has that different kind of intelligence. Think of, and this is going to
mhm.
be an out there reference for most people watching or listening to diving into Doctor Who necessarily, but not necessarily all those watching or listening to things on It's a Wonderful Podcast. But think of the movie Born Yesterday and Judy
Yeah.
Holliday with that different style of intelligence that's
Yes.
atypical. That's Donna.
Yeah, yeah.
That is
An
Donna.
emotional intelligence as well.
Yeah,
This ability to kind of read people and understand people, as opposed to kind of, more bookish kind of, you know,
yeah,
thoughtful things like that. So, yeah, I like how intuitive she becomes about the doctor as somebody who doesn't know him. Um, it just really is a cool way to highlight his state of mind at the moment. So,
yeah,
yeah, I ultimately found myself liking Donna by the end of this, despite how kind of obnoxious she she was at the beginning. Because then,
I,
like, you have to kind of go and backtrack and be like, "Okay, well, how would you act if all this crazy stuff was happening and you didn't know what was going
yeah,
on? Like, what's to tell you?" Like, of course, we can say, "Yes, I see the doctor, I would trust him." But she doesn't know that she can trust him. So it's always like, you have to kind of step out of what you know, to be in the shoes of this character, um, to understand their state of mind at a certain time. So once I kind of started liking Donna by the end, I kind of found myself going back a little bit and putting myself in her perspective as okay, maybe it wasn't I shouldn't have read that as annoying. It was more like a valid response to this crazy crap that's happening all around
yeah.
her.
It is. I mean, how many times does she refer to him as a Martian, or I'm not
Yeah.
going to deal with any of your Get that Martian
Yes, I'm going to get
quality
my
from the late
lawyer and
80s.
sue you and this whole kind of
Yes.
thing, kidnapped me. Yeah.
And how many times does he have to tell her, I'm not from
Not on
Mars, okay?
Mars. Yeah,
Actually
just stop.
not from
Yeah.
Mars. If I remember rightly as well, he does, in fact, mention where he's from in this episode. He mentions the
I think
name
he
Gallifrey,
does. Yeah, I think
which I
so.
believe is the first mention of
Mention of the
Gallifrey.
actual place. Yeah.
In obviously this era of Doctor Who, Gallifrey, obviously, well, we're all well aware that the Doctor was from Gallifrey from classic Who. This was
Yeah.
where the Time Lords are from, but I don't believe it was said until the Runaway Bride in this
Yeah.
new iteration. which is notable. It's very notable. And also to kind of finalize our point from before, that the Doctor's takedown of the Empress of the Rachnos is definitely the most darkly serious we have seen the Doctor in both iterations we've seen of the Doctor
Yeah.
so far during the course of this run. We saw him be emotionally serious,
Mhm.
obviously, at Doomsday. We've not seen the Doctor that sad before, but
Yeah.
this is like, I mean, he's torturing the Empress of the Rachnos. That
Yeah.
is what it is. It's really, really quite dark.
Yeah.
And he's just stood there, all this sort of, I mean, it's not rain, is it? It's kind of leaking
Mm,
flood water coming down
yeah, 'cause
onto
it's,
him.
like, in the middle, it's in the core, so it's, like, this kind of underground place, like, surrounded by
Yeah.
the Thames. So,
Yes.
um, yeah, so that's kind of what's leaking in, um, but
Just
yeah.
glaring through this
Mhm. Yeah.
rain, through this dripping water, um, at what he's doing and not willing to stop until Donna pleads with him. And
Yeah.
it's very it's very it's very nasty. It's very nasty.
Yeah.
But as you say, we
Yeah.
obviously end this episode with not quite a "come and join me for an adventure" situation. They don't quite, it's kind of right person, wrong time for the two of them at the
Yeah,
moment.
she kind of, it was, she saw how destructive he was, and had she maybe seen a doctor of a different time, like Eccleston's doctor, always trying to find the most, um, humane solution to everything. Um, had she maybe seen a doctor like that who was a far more measured and far more, confident in making the right decisions, she maybe might have said yes and gone. But to see him kind of have this uncontrollable rage and, um, sacrifice and destructive tendencies, uh, she did not feel confident to, like, travel
No.
anywhere with this man or be responsible for this person that she doesn't quite know. So I think the best she can do for him is to implore him to find somebody, who
Yeah.
can rein him in and keep him measured. That I've only known you for a short amount of time, that I see that you really need that. So please try to find somebody who can
Yes.
balance you, because you need that right now.
And look, we will get there. They will
Mhm,
meet again, and the Doctor is a different man by the time
mhm.
they meet again. And obviously, Donna is then willing to
Go.
travel a little bit
Okay.
and
Okay.
become the iconic duo properly that they do become.
Okay.
It should also be said, actually, this is obviously a Christmas special. Getting married on Christmas Eve, that's a bold choice. I know
Yeah.
it
I
was. I
mean,
know it was a bit of a fakey wedding, and Lance was just doing it for the
yeah.
Empress purposes. But I wouldn't be getting married on Christmas Eve.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen people, like, get married on Halloween, but Christmas, like, that is a big
Yeah,
holiday to kind of have to share your important days with,
yeah.
you know?
You don't want to be around Christmas, sure. The
Yeah.
20 something of December.
Yeah,
My
but
own
Christmas Eve.
parents got married on the 22nd of December.
Okay, okay.
Um,
Close enough, but
so that,
not too
but
encroaching
it's not
on.
the actual holiday day,
Yeah,
like Christmas Eve is.
yeah,
It's a bit strange to me,
yeah.
that one, but we'll
Yeah.
move swiftly on. The Doctor wants to remain alone for now, and a few months later, we get the opening of Series 3, Smith and Jones. Jeannine,
Yeah.
what are we feeling about this tonally? What are we feeling about this? Do we feel it's a good series opener? Are you
I
into
mean,
all new characters
yeah, I
immediately?
mean, yeah, I
Have
mean, the
any stalling points, anything like that?
no, I think, they kind of jump into it almost like it is some kind of, like, young adult sitcom or something. Um, and so that kind of fun, pacey, introduction of, walking down the street and having this telephone conversation bouncing back and forth with all her family members to
Yeah,
kind of reveal the chaos of this impending party. Um,
trying to
yeah,
plan her brother's 21st birthday party.
yeah, yes. So kind of jumping us right into a bit of a chaotic situation, and having it kind of have this fast-paced energy. And then we just run into the doctor partway through it and a little bit of confusion there. And then we kind of continue on with the situation.
Yes,
Just jumping right in, like this episode does that and keeps this really interesting pace going. So I was immediately kind of locked in. Um,
yes.
so yeah.
Let's reiterate some of the newest iteration, latest iteration of You'll Always Recognise Someone from Doctor Who. Adjo Arando's obviously back now as
Yeah,
Martha's mother, who she will
yeah.
play for the who she will play for Martha's run as a companion. We did see her, although we didn't see her face, as one of
Yeah, it's like
the
cat and nun.
nuns
Yes.
at the opening of series 2, so it's nice to have her back here. We have Gugu
Yeah.
Mbatha-Raw as
Mhm.
Martha's sister.
Sister. Mhm.
Reggie Yates is Martha's brother. I don't know how familiar with Reggie Yates
Mm-mm.
you
Yeah,
are, but a very, very
look
notable
familiar.
man in of the time in Britain,
Okay.
radio presenter, children's presenter,
Mm. Okay.
um, DJ, big, very notable face
Okay.
there. Even our kind of main villain of this episode is played by Anne Reid, who I think is wonderful, a very prolific British television career. You'll probably recognise Anne Reid, I think, from Hot Fuzz she's in.
Yes.
I can't quite remember who she plays in Hot
Is
Fuzz, but I
she
believe
the
she's
florist person? She looked familiar
oh,
to me, but I couldn't remember where I'd seen her from.
yes.
So yeah, yeah.
I
Okay.
mean, that's a good indication there. Like, she
Yeah.
looks familiar, but where have I seen her from? That's the
Yeah.
perfect question
And I
of
was
You'll
literally like,
Always
yeah,
Recognise
something
Someone in
British.
Universe.
Yeah, I've seen her in something British. But yeah.
But I think this does a great job again as a series opener in having that same sort of energy that I think Rose had, the episode Rose,
Yeah. Mhm.
in entirely putting itself into the companion's point of view, which is important as
Yeah, seeing
Martha
their
is
day to
the new
day, seeing what
companion.
their life seeing what their life looks like, really settling in with them, before the chaos starts, seeing, like, their capabilities, seeing their wants, seeing what their day looks like, seeing the things they care about, the people they care
Yeah,
about, and then, diving into the craziness. So, yeah,
yeah,
the pacing of this episode kind of jumping right into, a really kind of, interesting energy and a character-focused energy, really
yeah.
locked me right away. So,
She's obviously a very different sort of person to who Rose was as well
yeah,
as a
definitely.
companion. She's a doctor. She's very intelligent, and not to downplay Rose, but Rose was kind of famously a impressionable teenager, and
Yes.
Martha is not that. Martha is a fully grown adult with a thriving career and
Yeah, she has things going on, like, Rose was, like, literally working at the retail shop, like, down the street,
yeah,
so it's not like she had any kind of big life goals or plans, um, whereas, Martha seems to have some really
yeah.
big aspirations. So yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but I think you immediately like her as a character. You
Mhm.
immediately like her very, very chaotic family dynamic. Obviously, the Jones family, we have more going on there than we did with Rose and Jackie, because really it was just Rose, Jackie, and Mickey on odd occasion.
Yeah,
Parallel Pete, okay, we end up with Parallel Pete, but
yeah.
he's dead in our world. So
Yeah.
that was never a real point. It was
Yes.
more family to go on here. Martha's dad as well. There's separation there, so it's a bit of a chaotic family
Dynamic, yeah.
situation going on.
Yeah,
They come in every now and again. They're not quite as prolific
as
as, say,
Jackie
Jackie
and
was,
Mickey even, yeah.
and Mickey even yet, but they are important to
Okay,
this series story.
okay,
They, particularly by the end, and we're getting far more of an overarching story in series 3 as well than we got
okay,
in series 2. You know, think along the lines of Bad Wolf from series
okay.
1, where you
Mhm.
would see Bad Wolf popping up here, there, and everywhere. You
Yeah.
will see something pop up here, there, and everywhere in series 3 as well. We didn't necessarily get that in
Okay.
series 2. The overarching was a little bit of Torchwood. It came up
Yeah,
a couple of
couple of
times
times,
before,
yeah.
obviously, the finale.
The finale, mhm.
Um, I will ask you the question, did you feel like you maybe noticed anything that may be alluding to an overarching storyline? I'd be surprised at this point if you did, but if you can get it now, I'd be very impressed.
I didn't notice anything in particular, but I did hear a line of dialogue that had me question something, but I'm like, I should have rewound it again to hear if, like, I heard something that I thought I heard.
Okay,
Um,
what was
uh
this?
uh, about a character that our villain killed. Um,
Okay.
she she talked about, like, sucking the life out of a blonde girl with rosy cheeks and things, and I was like, "Was she talking about the girl in the fireplace?" Like, I had a, like
Oh, okay, interesting. I
so
mean,
I
that's
was kind of
that's that's
worried.
that's not where we're at, but that's an interesting
Okay.
little thought.
Yeah, so I was like, "Oh, no, did she blonde girl with rosy cheeks?" And, like, I think she maybe said something about where she was from or said she was a princess or something, I can't remember. Um, but yeah, so I was like, is that a reference to the girl in the fireplace? I'm not sure. But yeah, no, nothing else really that I,
Okay.
picked up on that could play into anything down the line.
Well, you will pick up on it. It becomes fairly impossible to not pick up on,
Okay,
um, like, something going on in the background of
okay,
pretty much each and every episode, but the relevance of it specifically does not come necessarily into play until, the finales of this series.
okay,
Um, so you won't know anything. You won't know how it relates, I should say,
okay,
until the back end of this series. But you will start to notice things going on in the background, and a particular person or a name showing up, shall we say,
okay,
all the time. It's good. It's a great overarching story, I must say. It's a
okay,
really it has such a great payoff to it.
okay, okay,
Um, it's a great series 3. It only gets better and better and better as well. In the
yeah,
certainly in the second half, it's probably 6 or 7 episodes that's just back to back to back, banger after banger.
okay,
Um, I would say by the time we sort of get over a bit of a sort of, I can't quite remember if it's the 4th and 5th or the 5th and 6th episode that are probably the last of your this is okay sort of
okay,
episodes, before it's just great stuff after great stuff. Um,
okay,
but we obviously had great stuff before that because we have this opener, which I think is really, really
yeah,
great.
mhm.
Martha's hospital, um, comes under a little bit of a strange weather phenomenon.
Yes, well, do you
Um,
have a synopsis?
oh, I do have a synopsis. Sorry, I get ahead of myself and start talking
I
about
was like, "You're explaining it, but I think you might have a
it.
synopsis that could explain it a little
You are
more in
very
detail."
kind. The synopsis is a little bit better than the Runaway Bride synopsis as well, which I'm thankful for.
Yeah.
Just when it seemed it would be yet another chaotic day managing her family's disputes, Martha Jones finds trouble waiting for her at work. Trapped on the moon with space
Mhm.
rhinos looking for a criminal and the air running out. She will have to come to trust a seemingly mad stranger calling himself the Doctor. But can the Doctor save the day this time? I don't know why it always asks that question, because the answer
Right?
is generally yes.
Clearly,
Even if
yes. And then
even
look at
if the
all that
Doctor
detail it went into in comparison to the Christmas special. It's
mad, but
crazy. Yeah.
even if the Doctor has to, even if it's a regeneration story, right?
The
The
doctor's still
Doctor
gonna
saves the day.
save the day. Exactly.
Like, they might
No,
die, but the
this is
Doctor
not
will
a
still
radio
save the
serial,
day.
like, it's clearly
Well, yes, it's not, Flash Gordon
yeah,
or, the Shadow or something like that,
right?
is it?
Yeah,
We're not in that.
no.
Will you get out of this one this time
I'm
of the
gonna
60
lie,
days?
find out, tune in next week. Yeah,
Yeah,
like,
yeah, yes, they will. They always get out of it. I don't know why you keep teasing us with this.
yeah.
That's the stakes on whether the Doctor will die early on in a season is not a stake.
No,
That's not a
no, it's
stake.
not at all, no. That's
That's
so
not what's
funny.
interesting here. What's interesting
Yeah.
here is this episode as a concept, learning
Mhm.
about these characters, new character relationships.
Yeah.
Um, And what's going on in this episode, it introduces us to a lot, like I said, this weather phenomenon that envelops Martha's hospital where she's working,
Mhm.
but none of the rest of London. She's on the phone to Sister Gugu and Batharaw at this point, who I've
Yeah.
forgotten the name of, and saying, "Oh, it's really raining outside, isn't it?" And it's like, "No, it's not raining
No.
at all."
Yeah,
"Oh, wait
and
a
then the
minute, it
rain
is
is
raining.
going up. Yeah.
The rain's going up. What's going on here?" And then the hospital is transported to the
To the
moon. Why
moon,
is the
yeah.
hospital transported to the moon? Because the Judoon, which funnily enough rhymes with moon, and there's a hilarious line later on that's like Judoon platoon on the moon or something like that. And
Yeah.
that, David Tennant has to say and struggle to not say it in his Scottish accent, as it having to use his English accent. I do remember the first time I heard David Tennant's natural accent, because obviously this and his little role as Barty Crouch Jr. in Harry Potter and the Goblet
Yeah,
of Fire
mhm.
were my first time seeing David Tennant in
Yeah,
anything. And he uses the same English accent he uses
yeah,
whenever he's playing English people,
yeah.
um, that he does in this. And it's so naturally believable that the first time I heard him speak in his natural accent, I thought he was putting on a silly Scottish accent, but he's not.
Oh my
That's how he
that's
actually
how he
speaks.
talks. Yeah. No.
Um, which I find that line obviously quite funny, because if you ask most Scottish people to say something like Judoon platoon on the moon, it would sound a little bit stereotypically cartoonish, which
Yeah,
is hilarious.
yeah.
But the Judoon, okay, what do we make of the Judoon? Personally, I think the Judoon are a very underused people in Doctor Who mythology. I really like the Judoon. I think they should come back time and time again as this mercenary police force to track
Yeah, who
down
have this
the
instant law and
villains.
order. Yeah, who have this
Yeah.
instant kind of law and order type mentality where, judge, jury, and execution are right there in the moment of a situation. And I think they
But
look really good too.
they
So,
do. I'm going to
yeah.
disappoint you in saying that we barely ever see the Judoon again,
Oh, well, that's kind of a bummer. They're kinda
which is
cool.
really, really unfortunate. We do,
Yeah.
I believe we do, if I'm remembering correctly, we do. But it's not as often as I think we should. I think they should be here quite
All the
frequently.
time, yeah. Yeah, and just
Just,
come back
maybe not
for some type
necessarily.
of
I mean,
but come back for some kind of enforcement situation whenever there's something kind of out of line
yes,
with something in the
yes.
universe, they pop up.
And
Yeah,
okay, continuity and Doctor Who, do they go hand in hand? No,
not
we know
always,
that.
yeah. Yeah.
But we could just bring the Jadoon back every now and again. You are right, I think, in saying as well that they do look great. They're these big, hulking, as we say, rhino sort of
Yeah.
creatures, um, that have this very monosyllabic way of speaking, He's like,
Yeah.
Roko, follow. Like, that is really quite fun
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
speak like a Judoon. But they obviously have that same sort of language technology as where they can scan somebody and imitate their
And
language
like,
immediately,
yeah.
like the
Yeah.
TARDIS's language thing.
Yeah.
And they're a very useful species, but they are there
Mhm.
to track down this mystery criminal, who ends up being essentially a bit of a version of a vampire. Called
Yeah.
a plasmavore, as played by Anne Reid,
Yeah.
who we've already mentioned. An old, a nice little
Yeah,
ditty old.
posing as an old lady patient with a stomach pains or something that Martha is kind of doing her rounds with like a senior doctor. And he's asking the students, like the med students, to kind of diagnose like what does this lady have, what are her symptoms, what does it speak to her
Yeah,
diagnosis and things like that. So we meet her early on, and then we meet another patient, Mr. Smith.
yes,
who who doesn't
yes.
feel well. And
Oh
she's
dear,
like,
I'm not feeling very well. Well, who are you? I'm Mr. John Smith. Let's remember the doctor uses John Smith as his human alias name
yeah, it's very
at any
creative.
given point. Very
Yeah,
creative, but this is very important. It's also, I don't think actually has he used John Smith yet over the course of
I don't
series
remember.
1 2? I don't think he did. Did he? Maybe series 3 is where he starts using John Smith
Okay,
in the modern era.
regularly. Okay.
Um,
Um,
so it's very important in a phenomenal two-parter coming up in series 3 itself. Um, him as John Smith, shall we say?
okay.
Just
Okay.
so just keep that in mind.
Okay. But yeah, and Martha immediately recognizes him as the man who bumped into her on the street and like had a weird interaction with her. And
Yes.
he says, "That wasn't me. I was here this whole time. I don't know what you're talking about." So she's kind of confused by that. So this all kind of happens before the hospital gets transported. So she's met this woman who we'll see later, and she's met the doctor a couple of times now, and have had these
Yeah.
like weird interactions with him. But she kind of takes it pretty much in stride, like him telling her, "No, I'm not the man you saw on the street, even though we look exactly the same." She's
Okay.
not kind of weirded out by it. She's more just kind of like wanting to understand it, which,
Well, she's a
speaks to kind
doctor.
of
She hasn't got time. She's a doctor herself. She hasn't got time for
yeah.
this
Well,
nonsense.
not quite
You
yet.
know.
I think she's still a doctor. She says that she has to like take her exams and all that kind of thing to
Well,
become a
yes, sure,
full-fledged
but
doctor.
for all intents and
Yes.
purposes, she's a medical
She's a
professional.
doctor. Yes. So yeah, so once this hospital gets transported and things kind of start going weird, um, she runs into him again, and he ends up having to kind of explain to her who he really is, and what's going on. And she's very much helpful in kind of deducing what's happening. So, the doctor realizes there's a force field around the hospital. And so she very much is immediately like, well, if there's a force field, that means that there's only so much or air for us to breathe. So, um, we have to think about when that's going to run out. So then she, is
Yeah.
able to kind of put this like ticking clock on the episode as well. So yeah, for her to kind of immediately think of something like that, I think the doctor clocks that and finds it. Oh, okay, you kind of,
Yeah.
your head's in the right place. So yeah, a lot of things like that end up happening with this character kind of coming up with an idea or helping the doctor plan something. It's very much like Rose in that way of kind of immediately trying to figure something out and um, showing this really kind of quick thinking
Yeah.
in
But maybe
in these
not.
really
May
strange situations.
I agree with you there, and I like your thought process on that. I think that's Rose when a relationship with the Doctor has already been developed. I don't necessarily think that is in line with early on Rose, who is
Well,
very
I mean,
much kind of just like take everything for yes, exploratory, yes, oh,
mhm,
what's this? Yes, I'm fascinated by everything, but how shall we say active is kind of the first few episodes of Rose Tyler, as opposed to what her character obviously would become. I think Martha is immediately very active
Yeah.
in
Mhm.
dealing with all this. And that is what the Doctor, I think, latches onto. That is what the Doctor, I think, really likes about Martha. That is why, obviously, the famous invite is given to Martha by the end of this episode. Like, you wanna come inside? You wanna come in the
Check
TARDIS?
it
Yeah, you
out,
wanna have a
yeah.
look?
Yeah.
Um, Rather hilariously as well, I must say. I love the little, um, the kind of, I don't know how to describe it. When Martha is in the TARDIS, she says the famous line of, "Oh, it's bigger on the inside," and we get a shot of the Doctor mouthing, "It's bigger on the inside," as while she's saying it, because this is
Yeah,
just
because he's like,
everything
he
says
everyone
all.
says that. Yeah. Well, no, I just mean because I remember in that pilot episode, of series 1 talking about how, you know, by kind of the finale villain fight, Rose has really stepped up and made herself very useful in a way that I don't think she felt useful kind of her whole life. This is the first time where she's found
Yeah,
purpose,
I think
and
that's fair.
she, by the end of kind of the craziest part of that very first episode, she jumps right into being helpful and kind of helping the Doctor figure things out and helping him kind of ultimately fight the big bad at the end of everything. So that's just what I mean in the fact that, like, she's somebody who adjusts pretty quickly to the craziness
Yeah,
and then proves herself useful to the Doctor, like, right from kind of when we establish that relationship. So
yeah.
I agree that I think Martha does it quicker, but I think Rose still also kind of showed that in her very first episode once that
Now,
relationship was established.
yes, I think no, I think that's fair. But yeah, I would agree that I think Martha does kind of do it. There's less of a, and it's weird, it's strange this, because um there's a certain character attribute to Martha that isn't present in Rose as quick, but there's this particular character attribute that we're talking about now, this sort of this activeness that I think
Mhm.
is present in Martha quicker. They're almost a cross of each other. It's strange as a
Yeah.
comparison, given that they obviously are companions that come directly after, Martha comes
Yeah.
directly after Rose. Because what do you make of this as well? Because I mean, we should also say, what do we think of Martha's almost immediate sort of romantic fondness for the Doctor,
Flirtation. Yeah,
flirtation
I
with the
mean
Doctor? There's an obvious sort of very quick, "You're quite attractive, and I'm a little bit flustered," um, in a few scenes here. Now, he's
yeah.
obviously just come off the end of a particularly emotional budding romance
Yeah.
with Rose. We had that big discussion of whether we like to see the Doctor as a romantic lead
Mhm.
during our episode on Doomsday. Um, but what do we make of this as a character attribute for Martha?
Well, I mean, you know me.
I
So
do know you.
I liked it. I liked that it wasn't kind of, um, super overt. Um, I think it's just somebody in this situation with somebody else and really feeling a connection in terms of, uh, this immediate kind of teamwork vibe. Um, and so that kind of making the bond kind of feel quicker. And this intrigue as well, because she, in terms of how she differs from Rose, also just Rose kind of somebody who runs on hope and belief, and Martha more somebody logical. So in really kind of trying to figure out this person that she's met, also kind of, attracting her because she's really focusing on a lot of aspects about him in a short amount of time. Um, so yeah, I liked. that it wasn't super overt, but it was kind of playful and it didn't kind of take over the whole episode. It just
Okay.
kind of was teased a little bit. So when he kisses her and, he's doing it to pass on like his particles to her so that she reads as non-human.
Mhm.
Um, but
For
when
the
she kind of
Judoon scanning purposes.
yes. So but when she brings it up later in this kind of playful way, I like that it does make him feel a little nervous about it and try to kind of play it down. And it feels like he's only really doing that because he doesn't wanna kind of betray Rose in that sense. Um, and it's
I
even
like where your mind's at.
and it's even kind of an interesting thing that, like, in the last episode, he couldn't even really bring himself to say her name or really talk about her.
No, not
Um,
to
Donna ha
Don. No.
Donna had to kind of bring it out of him. But then here, he's kind of, just being around Martha for a day, he's able to say her name, he's able to kind of and he says it in a way where it's like, somebody who's lost somebody and they struggle to talk about it. And then they finally are, brave enough to say their name, to talk about them again.
Yeah.
Um, and the way he says her name, like with this pride of remembering her and not to have this kind of uh pushing down that emotion of or that pain of losing her. He's able to say it outright, and he says it in a way that feels like this is him getting over something or, overcoming something.
Yeah.
The way he is able to say her name to Martha. And kind of also him maybe putting up this guard, like, I maybe feel a little something, but no, you're not gonna be her, you're never gonna be her, and I need to, like, make that clear so I don't kind of, uh, you know, uh, erase Rose in any kind of way.
So
So
how do you think there's any continuation to that sort of character dynamic specifically? Do you think and do you think that holds true of, kind of Martha being super flirty and the doctor just being like, it's still thinking about Rose. I'm just gonna keep thinking about Rose.
I think he's probably going to slip a little bit in terms of, like, um, as this, kind of bond grows with Martha, I think it's going to be harder for him as time goes by to kind of ignore that he likes the
Okay.
energy between the 2 of them, but he will maybe potentially struggle with that because he might feel like it's a bit of a betrayal to Rose. Like, he doesn't want to forget her, and so he's gonna have to try to find a balance of still keeping Rose in his memory and honor her while also kind of allowing himself to
Moving
be
on.
yes, to move forward. So, yeah.
I am
I
I
liked
am
all the little flirty things, like, when she was coming at him pretty hard at the end, I was like,
yes.
"Tee hee hee." I got
Yes.
very tee hee hee about it. So, you know.
Okay, I am going to be interested to hear what you think about this companion doctor relationship going forward
Okay.
for Martha's run after hearing you say that. Aside from that, it's obviously the major part of this episode is seeing these two together, getting their bond set, and
Yeah,
having them begin their adventures together as as Martha is able
yeah,
to, you know, take on, the journey in the TARDIS. And it's not quite as heavily of an emotional choice as say Rosie's first sort of invitation was of going, oh well, how am I going to leave, all this here?
yeah.
And Martha's like, yeah, sure, I've got this here, but this is interesting, and I kind of like
Yeah.
you, so I'm just gonna go and see what
See?
the crack
And he's like,
is.
"I'll get you back in time for your exams and your family things," and it's
Yeah,
very much a curiosity. It's not like I don't Rose was very much like, "I don't have anything here.
no, it's
This
not
is"
an I'm changing my life.
yes, and like, I need this because I don't have anything else. Like,
Yeah.
Martha has a lot of other things going on, but because of her logical way of thinking and her interest of foreknowledge and learning things and knowing things, that's what intrigues her more than this being like a purpose for her. This is just something that she can learn from and is really interested in and excited by, whereas Rose kind of had really nothing else and finally kind of found something that she was good at. So
Yeah.
nothing else mattered, and she made it kind of her whole existence,
Yeah.
where I don't see Martha doing that. I like that she has more of a freedom in how she views this experience than
So
Rose. So
you don't
I did
see, can I just specify this, please? You don't see Martha making the Doctor her whole existence.
um, maybe not at first, but maybe down the line, I don't know, depending on, like, what happens, what
Okay.
situations they get into, I could see her getting there, but as of right now, I feel like she is more kind of just, uh, has more agency in terms of, like, how
Very
she
interesting.
feels about this situation. Oh my gosh, you're just, like, making me think all
It-
kinds of things.
yeah, I'm sure I am, but it's just very interesting given where Martha's story ends up. It's just very
Okay.
interesting.
I'm also just very interested in terms of, like, how she was received, because I'm just thinking about, you know, the very awful kind of racial tensions that are happening in the UK now. I'm thinking about,
Mm,
the kind of racist things said and written about and enacted on Meghan Markle and things like that.
yeah,
So, to have a Black woman take a very prominent role in something that's so ingratiated in British culture. What did that look like at the time? Because I mean, it was a different time. I think people were far more, not like they were now. I think um, the 90s and 2000s were times where I think there was kind of the most um, strong feeling of equality and in those kinds of things. And so I wouldn't expect there to be kind of any awful reactions, but, just thinking about what things look like now over there, I'm like, were there at
yeah,
least kind of some people kind of feeling some type of way about a Black woman, you know, in
yeah.
this
No,
role?
it's important to bring up, and I think it's worth talking a bit about at the end of the episode here. I was obviously a child when
Yeah.
series 3 came out, so wouldn't really have seen any
Something you noticed or would be looking up or reading
anyway.
or yeah.
It certainly wasn't anything I noticed at the time, and I must admit it hasn't been anything I've noticed since with Martha.
Okay.
People generally really like Martha.
Okay.
People think she's, as I said, a sort of undervalued companion. And yes, okay, this may
Okay.
be Doctor Who fans, and yes, obviously Doctor Who is a pretty liberal show. If we're
Yeah.
going for,
Oh,
what a television
yeah.
show has
I
always
mean,
been since
yes, I mean, all
1953,
the
it's been
fluidity that we
fundamentally,
saw in those
well, yeah,
first couple yeah,
well, exactly,
series.
but not even modern Doctor Who. I'm talking classic Who, ridiculously sort of, it was the first producer was a woman in the early 60s,
Okay,
and, I think a Pakistani man. So,
okay.
what is, this is it's
Yeah.
been the fundamental of Doctor Who
Yes, okay.
has been
They've cultivated an
really that.
environment of inclusivity and equality and yeah.
I would, yeah, I'm not gonna say overly bold
Oh,
statements, but it would certainly
yeah,
appear that way.
yeah,
Um I'm sure there are some people out there who do have negative feelings towards this. I'm absolutely certain there are. We know what type of people exist. I'm
yeah.
just in what I see, and it's not like I don't see the odd bit of social media that's horrifically racist,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah,
But what I see in my Doctor Who side of social media, which since rediscovering, not rediscovering, but since re-watching and re-looking into Doctor
yeah,
Who, for diving into Doctor Who, has been more prevalent on and across all my social media. I have not seen Martha negativity. I mean, Doctor Who also, you think about it, this, 2 series and 2 episodes you've watched of
Yeah.
Doctor Who, it's kind of all about the interracial relationship dynamics. Mickey and
Mhm.
Rose were a partner. Donna and Lance
Donna
were a
and Lance, yeah.
husband,
Mhm.
and they,
Yeah.
Donna's Catherine Tate, white, Lance was black.
Mhm.
Martha, and is obviously the Doctor at this point is
Yeah. But
white.
even when Martha wasn't Martha and she was her cousin, which he says
But
in
even
this
when Martha
episode,
was, yeah,
in
Martha's,
Torchwood, that wasn't
from
it, she was in an
Torchwood.
interracial romantic situation with the guy there.
Correct. So
Yeah.
it's just it's kind of what it is at this point.
Okay.
Um, I don't. I do agree. I'm trying to
Yeah,
kind of
no.
not choose what I say carefully in the sense of what I say is going to be incorrect, but choose what I say carefully in the sense of being as specific as possible without
Yeah.
going into
Mhm.
spoilery, and all
Yeah.
this kind of stuff. Um, I just feel I agree with you in the sense that it's a strange thing to think about that 20 years ago you could just have this and it
Mhm.
seemingly not be a big deal in the slightest way. And now
Yeah.
it would just for some reason be a
And
massive deal.
drive people up a wall. But yeah, I mean, it's always kind of something, as a black consumer of media, a black woman consumer of media, where black women are pushed aside for kind of more digestible diversity. So we're picking a mixed race black woman who has fairer skin and European hair and that kind of thing, and
Yeah.
this constant telling us that we are not, you know, attractive. We are not the love interest. We cannot be seen as beautiful in something. We cannot be seen as loved by somebody, particularly a white somebody. So,
Well,
you
that's
know,
that's very interesting. That's very interesting, given how the Doctor and Martha's relationship goes. That you would say that. I think there's maybe I,
well, just I'm
I
talking in
don't
general
think
terms of, like, the
I
media that
I
I've
I
grown up
understand.
consuming. So, that's why it's just kind of something I thought about, like, how did people view this at the time? Because I've grown up constantly wanting to see things like this and always seeing this fear or this backtracking or this kind of diluted version of it or, um a not fully committing to something like this. I'm thinking of like the Vampire Diaries. We had a black character, and in the books, there was a love story with her with a white character, and then the producers and showrunners refused to like let that happen, even though it was something that happened in the source material. And so, just kind of thinking about, the viewpoints of that time, the viewpoints of now, and what that looked like then, because it's always something I've constantly had to think about, as somebody who consumes this type of thing, like people who look like me, how are we being portrayed? How are we being treated, in media? So, definitely
Then, as I
something that
say,
was in
I
the back of
am
my head as watching this, and so that's why,
okay.
like, all the kind of flirty romantic things were, like, singing to me because
Yeah,
I was like, you know,
yeah.
the
Then,
representation there was just really great.
yeah. Then, as I say, I'm going to be very interested in hearing how you view Martha going forward, the Doctor companion dynamic going forward, and I would again reiterate, keep in mind people view Martha as an undervalued companion, as an
Okay, okay,
undervalued character.
okay.
Um, the Doctor, I'll say this because I think it's the least spoilery thing I could possibly say. The Doctor himself doesn't value Martha as much as he should.
Ooh, okay. Mm, alright,
And
and it
that is
does that play to kind of what my mindset was of, like,
I
him
I
not
I fundamentally refuse to say anything else, just for story purposes and for impact of series purposes.
Am I gonna get
But
my heart broken again?
no, no, no,
Okay.
you're not. Not necessarily in that way. Um or certainly not necessarily in the way I think you may be thinking.
Okay.
And I understand I'm being, you know,
No, I
terrifyingly vague
understand,
at the
yeah.
moment, but I feel it's very, very important to not say any more than what I'm saying, and I'm trying to be
Okay,
very careful as to what I
okay.
say. I just yeah, I feel my it's I don't quite know what to say. I apologize. I
No,
really
that's
don't
okay, that's okay, I don't wanna be
know how
spoiled, so
to
it's fine.
yeah. I don't know how to say what I want to say without telling you
Without
what
kind of
happens. So I
okay,
don't know.
okay,
Fundamentally, I don't know how to do that. So I'm not
okay,
going to say any more on that
okay,
piece.
okay, okay.
Um, but we'll see. Obviously, going forward, we'll
Yes.
see. We'll get your thoughts.
Right.
It's going to be interesting. What I will say is, you're always going to like Martha. This
Okay.
is without a doubt. You're always going to like Martha, and you're not going to ever, you know, fall out of favor with the Doctor. Let's just say that as well. It's
Okay.
not going to be like you become, the Doctor becomes evil in your mind because he doesn't treat Martha well or what have you. It's not
Okay.
that sort
Okay.
of thing.
Okay. Alright. That's what I when you
Um,
said that, I was
or
kinda
it's
like,
not as,
"Oh, no."
or should I say,
Okay.
it's not as severe as that. I'll say it's
Okay.
not as severe as that.
Okay.
Um, Anyway, all that vagueness overcome.
Yeah.
This is the difficulty of early series discussions. I think we
Yeah.
haven't gotten any story to give any
To kind
context
of
to anything
yeah.
coming up yet.
Yeah.
Um, but there we go. I think for this episode of diving into Doctor Who, a big, nice special with a Christmas special, The Runaway Bride, and the Series 3 opener, Smith and Jones. We will be back in 2 weeks' time on diving into Doctor Who with another celebrity historical. They like throwing the
Ooh.
celebrity
Mhm.
historicals in fairly early on, don't they? We're
Yes.
getting a Shakespeare one,
Oh,
the
yes. I saw that little
Shakespeare
preview.
Code.
Yeah.
And then what's episode 3? Is it Gridlock? I've forgotten what episode 3 is. What is episode 3? Why can you never find the episode list when you want it is Gridlock?
Okay.
Gridlock's a decent episode as well. Gridlock's an interesting concept of an
Okay.
episode. Very good, very fun, very exciting things coming up. New eras for Doctor Who.
Yeah.
Jeannine, a new
Okay.
dynamic to have to contend with, and much more fun here on diving
Yes.
into Doctor Who, and progressively less vagueness going forward as we
Yeah.
learn more, obviously, about this character dynamic. But this is not the only show we have on the It's a Wonderful podcast feed. Of course, it alternates every Monday at the moment with Discovering Dawson's Creek, which
Mhm.
is back in season 5, very sadly, as it was on our last
Yeah.
episode of Discovering Dawson's Creek. I did not like that at all. Uh,
Yeah. Mm.
but there we go. These things happen in melodramas, don't they?
Yes.
Um, and Morgan hasn't seen every Wednesday, of course, as well as the main show celebrating old movies every Friday, all week long. We have plenty to get your teeth into here on It's a Wonderful Podcast. Do subscribe and ding your notification bell on the It's a Wonderful Podcast YouTube channel if you are watching today's episode, or of course, if you are listening wherever you get your podcasts on all major podcast platforms. Do subscribe wherever that may be too, and leave your comments on Spotify. Rate, review, like, and share
Mhm.
wherever you are. And if you would like to support us on Patreon or donate in any way, please do find the links to do that in the description of today's episode, or simply find us on and across all the social medias on the app formerly known as Twitter, and on Blue Sky at It's a Wonderful One. Find me on the app formerly known as Twitter at the Purple Don with a 3 instead of the E in the because, Jeannine.
3 is a magic number.
On Instagram, TikTok, and Blue Sky at the Purple Don. All your, I don't know, plasmavores are where?
You could find
Your
me Jan
blood-sucking
Yes,
humanoid thing. We didn't
my
speak too much
my
about the
straw.
plasmavore.
I
I
know,
really quite
I
liked the
know.
plasmavore.
Yeah, she was pretty creepy the way she would, I have my straw.
Yes.
um, but you could find me Janine Devine underscore on Twitter, Janine Devine on Instagram, TikTok, and Blue Sky. And if you want to get any merch for any of our shows, just check the description for the link or search G9 Design on tpublic.com.
Well, speaking of the Plasmavore and, the other monster in Smith and Jones was the Judoon. They have a good impression. Please count us down in the
Oh my
mindset of the
goodness.
Judoon. So you don't even
Ooh.
have to say 3, 2, 1. You just say, heavy monosyllabic syllables.
Mm. Goon. Goon. Goon.
Bye.
Bye.